And you can get frostbite in as little as 30 minutes with the temperatures on the way. Some community members have stories which serve as warnings about how dangerous the conditions are if you're not careful. First Alert 6's Joe Harris joins us in the studio with more on this. Joe?
Aaron, few people these days have experienced what the cold can do to someone like the homeless population and those who serve it. So if you're out in this weather, you need to listen up to hear what they have to say. Philip Gober stays at the Open Door Missions shelter. When he was homeless for 2 years, he experienced something nobody wants: frostbite.
It was like a painful. I couldn't use my fingers, and when I walk, I had to barely walk because every step I made was pain, and it's like a burning, tingling sensation.
And he says he's had nerve damage from it, but mission staff say they've seen worse cases.
Their blood pressure is really low, their pulse is low. Last year during the cold spell, we had a lot of really severe frostbite. We had to monitor them and wrap their feet for many weeks until sometimes they had amputations afterwards.
While Dosen says a lot of people are very resilient in the elements, there are greater risks.
One of the most dangerous things that I've seen is if someone's intoxicated or on drugs or not thinking clearly, they don't know that they're cold. And they can be walking around barefoot and then come in with terrible frostbite on their feet.
Another shelter resident, Michael Petkovich, says despite being homeless for most of his life, he's never experienced hypothermia or frostbite.
Things that I've done to help stay warm is hand warmers. I've always carried around extra clothes. I've had on extra jackets, extra t-shirts, multiple long sleeve shirts.
It's exactly what mission staff recommend to those who plan to weather the low temps. They also suggest coming into the shelter where they have warming stations providing blankets, dry socks, and warm packs.
We just bring people in, we try to get them dry as soon as possible, and then we try to warm them up.
Now, with an Omaha police officer rescuing a homeless man from a burning car early this morning, they tell me the department is not facing a burden dealing with the homeless population. But with the upcoming cold stretch, they want to remind people several shelters in the metro area are offering warming centers and help to those who need it. Live in the studio, Joe Harris, First Alert 6.
Good reminders there, Joe. Thank you.